Hey, everybody. All right. Welcome to this episode of the Dr. Kiki Ramsey Show. Um, you know, I am actually really excited to be having this show today. And we're going to be diving into overtakers and overgivers and the quest for healthy boundaries. And we didn't plan it, but guess what? It happened. And I think that after yesterday's events, some of us could probably really benefit from understanding and listening to today's show. And I have the absolute perfect guest. And you'll find out who that is right after this. Dr. Chang, how you doing?
I am doing well, Dr. Kiki. It is lovely to see you.
You too. So when we decided to have the show, we didn't know that it was going to be the day after the election.
Right.
Right.
It was definitely unplanned. Yes.
It was unplanned, but because it was unplanned, I always believe that nothing happens, everything happens for a reason. And I believe that this happened for a great reason, because I really believe that people in this time may need some real coping skills to deal with the aftermath of the election. Because, I mean, let's be honest, there are some people who are very happy about the outcome. And then at the end of the day, there's some people who are not as happy about the outcome. But no matter where you sit, I still think this conversation is relevant for our lives, not just now, but as we move forward into how we plan to be
Yes.
in relationships in our own worlds. So with that being said, y'all are in for a treat. If you are here live joining me on the Dr. Kiki Ramsey show, you can drop your name in the chat and tell us where you are tuning in from. And if you're live on any of the social medias, you can do the same as well. Thank you, Valerie, for joining us live, and then What is Black joining us live. Thanks so much. See y'all. All right. So why don't you introduce yourself to the Kiki Ram fam?
Okay. Sounds good. So I am Dr. Jennifer Chang. I'm a licensed psychologist, and I am also the owner of a group practice in Seattle, Washington. It's called Thrive for the People. And some of my background is that in my graduate research, I focused a lot on resilience and resilience research. And that's always been a topic that is interesting to me. And some of what we'll talk about today is also about resilience.
Yes, I know. I love it. I just released a course on LinkedIn Learning called Building Strategic Resilience. And so it's one of my favorite topics because I think it's a skill that you need to have in order to survive in the world that we got.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So tell us what your superpower is.
Yes, what a lovely question. I think I have several, but one of my superpowers, I think, is that I am a truth seer and a truth
Ooh,
teller.
ooh,
Yeah. I feel
ooh.
like I've always had this talent for observation, of seeing what is going on in myself and in the world around me. And I am learning more and more to use my voice. It's definitely not something that was easy to come by, especially as an Asian woman. But I am learning to really speak that truth.
I love this. And and I also love that you say that you're in the process of learning this and learning how to speak your
Mm,
truth. I think a lot of times people think that when you are you because you're a professional licensed psychologist, I'm a positive psychologist, I'm an executive coach.
mhm.
When you are in these roles, you think that we all have it all together. Like we
Right.
don't go through the thing, and that's just not true. We too go through the motions, because at the end of the day, we're all flawed.
Yes, absolutely. We're all flawed and we're all learning and we're all growing together.
Yeah. So when we talked prior to this call, we really dug into like overtakers and and over givers. And when you said that, I was like, oh my God, we gotta talk this on the show, because I don't even think people really understand about their overtaking or even their overgiving tendencies. And so I would love for you to break down the definitions of overtakers and overgivers.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to. And I will first start with this is definitely informed by my own upbringing and my own experience, right? So, being uh, a child of an immigrant family and growing up Asian American, being the firstborn daughter, there was a lot of reinforcement of me being the overgiver, right? That it is good to give, it is good to be helpful, it is good to anticipate other people's needs. That is when I'm the most valuable, and that's when I'm the most loved, and that is when I'm the most successful, right? So that message was very much instilled in me. And observing how that played out in my own life was that, as you mentioned earlier, I, on the outside, looked very successful. On the outside, I looked like I had it all together. But on the inside, I was struggling for so long with feeling very, excuse me, feeling very lonely, feeling very self conscious, feeling a lot of self doubt, and struggle with my own mental health concerns for a very long time. Because that kind of setup where my self worth was based on giving to others and taking care of others was just really unsustainable. So that's something that I saw. And one of the dilemmas that I had was that the more I gave, like it just was endless. It was never going to be a stopping point. Right. So from that personal experience, I just start noticing that there's this pattern, there's this dynamic in our society even where there are people who are over givers and people who are over takers.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what I really appreciated about this model that I came across, so I didn't come up with this, but this model by Stephen Cartman, the drama triangle. Have you heard of that before?
No.
Okay, yeah. So I really love this framework of thinking about the overtakers and the overgivers. So the drama triangle is called that because these dynamics happen a lot in the dramas that we have on TV shows, in
Mm,
storytelling, and movies. And so this will feel pretty familiar. So the three roles in this triangle are the first one is the persecutor, or what I like to call the villain. So this is
mm,
the person who tends to be blaming, tends to be critical of others, tends to be aggressive, right? Tend to attack, tend to be the bully, right? And also oftentimes quite insecure in themselves. And then there is the victim who tends to be on the receiving end of all of this bullying and aggression. And the victim is coming from the place of helplessness. I am the victim of my circumstance. I
mm.
can't get myself out of here. And interestingly enough, the victim oftentimes manipulates other people to help them, but they
Mhm.
tend to get stuck in a place where they're always seem to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the victim. And then you have the third role, which is the rescuer or the hero, right? And so the hero likes to come in, fight against the villain, protect, right, saves the day and protect the victim, right? And they're often very self-sacrificing, martyring themselves. The interesting thing is that the hero has a secret wish. They are secretly hoping that one day, when they've given enough, that the victim will then be able to come and save them.
Mm.
But the tragic part of that is that that never happens. That will never happen, right? Because the victim can't really even save themselves. So how could they come and save the hero? Yeah.
Right. Right.
So this is the framework of thinking about the overgiver and the overtaker. And the interesting thing is that we can play all three roles. We can play all three roles in like one conversation. We can fall into all of them.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that because I was hoping there was a fourth that kind of did save everybody. Like,
I know that is definitely our hope. Yeah, and our
right.
dream. Yes. Somebody
Like,
come save us, please.
right, just save us, please, at the end of the day. But no, I love that because I do think that, of course, we all can play the victim, the hero, and the saver
Mhm,
all at one time. Um,
mhm,
and then I also think that sometimes we tend to lean towards one in our lives more than the
mhm,
other, right?
mhm,
Like I know for me, and I know for a lot of people who are in the helping profession, sometimes we tend to be the saver. Like
Yes.
we want to come in, we want to fix everybody, and we want to just make it right and patch you up and send you on your way. And you know,
Yes.
and until we realize that that doesn't work, that breeds we enable,
Yes.
people, and we're not really helping people when we solve their problem.
Yes.
It get until we realize that, we continue to do it. And I know that I've had conversations with clients who do that, and they cannot for the life of them stop saving,
Yes.
right? Stop saving the people in their lives. And it's interesting because I did an article interview a little while back, and they asked me what was the biggest lesson I learned in my life, and it was that I can't care about your problems more than you care about your own problems.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
You know,
Yes.
because here's the
Yes.
thing, like I'm out here trying to save everybody, my clients, my family members, and all this kind of stuff. And they sit back like the victim, or,
Yes.
like, I mean, I don't know how to do it, or, complaining and crying, but
Mhm.
not actually putting any action to it. And I'm just like out here trying to help them. And I'm like, what the heck am I doing? If you
Yes.
don't care enough to put in the job applications, don't come crying to me. I won't hear. I don't.
Right.
This is family, because
Yes.
with clients we got to be a little bit more sensitive. But I'm like, I'm tired of hearing you cry, because and I can't be more concerned about if you put in applications today about your situation, but you come crying to me that you are sick. You're so sick that you're about to have a nervous breakdown because of your job. Not really. No, you ain't. Because
Mhm.
if you
Mhm.
just put in applications or pick up the phone and call somebody, then how is it that but I'm worried about your problems more than you
Mhm.
are. I had to
Mhm.
stop. I had to stop. And so I think that we all can tend to lean towards one more than the other. Do you see that in your practice?
Yes, yes, I see that in my practice, and I also see that in our society, right? We just gone through this election. We can definitely have somebody in mind that we know who is a bit of an overtaker, right? Who tends to be in a bit of that villain role, who's very aggressive and blame others for their problems,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, and in that place, right, all of us, all these different roles, the root of it is a bit of helplessness. All three roles are
Mhm.
feeling quite helpless. Like
Yeah.
you're saying, I can't really help you if you don't help yourself,
Yeah.
right? And so how do we get out of that stuck place of helplessness? Right?
Yeah.
And that's how we exit out of the triangle. That's how we exit out of this dynamic. And I believe, like you're saying, when we overgive, we're enabling these patterns to continue. We're
Yeah.
enabling overtaking. And the
Mm.
people who are overtaking, sometimes we are overtaking ourselves, but the people who are overtaking, who tend to be in those overtaking roles, are not motivated to get out of it, right? Because they're kind of receiving a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're not going to change. It's usually the overgivers who have to stop overgiving,
Yes.
who have to see it.
Like, and I find like that is the hardest. You can point it
It
out
is.
to them.
Yep.
And I do that with some of my clients. And I'm like, can I share an observation? And I share
Yes.
the observation, and immediately they want to push back. No, no,
Yes.
no, no, that's not what it is. But I'm telling you.
Yes.
Like, I'm sharing an observation that I see that you are doing. And no, 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 no. Right. And
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
so
Yes.
I think, as a coach and a positive psychologist, and you probably as a psychologist as well, is that really hard for you when you get the pushback? When you're saying, hey, you gotta stop overgiving, because this is not it's not serving you well. I can see it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. The pushback, from what I understand, is stems from a couple of things. One is from guilt, and one is from fear. Okay, so the guilt is that if I stop overgiving, and this is what
Woo,
overgivers get, we're really trapped in. If I stop overgiving, then I'm abandoning the people who need me, and
correct.
I'm bad for doing that.
Ooh,
Right?
mm-mm-mm.
Yeah. And
Yes.
then the fear is my value, my identity. People need me because I do what I do. So who am I if I stop doing this? Will they love me anymore? Will they still stay around? Right? So the guilt and fear just traps the overgivers in this role
Oh
very
my God,
much.
you have said so much. Also, thank you, Trey, for joining us. Planny Locks, Heartful Wellness, Kristen, Victor. Thank you for joining us live on the Dr. Kiki Ramsey Show. You can catch us, both of us, me and Dr. Chang, on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, and you'll be able to see the both of us. But if you're on IG, then you can see me. And you can hear her.
Great.
um, but I love what you said about fear. And it was fear and it was
Guilt.
guilt. I love that.
Yep.
And I've experienced that in my own life, right? I think that,
Mm-hmm.
when we give, like I grew up with a mom who was addicted, to drugs. And as I grew up, I began to take on like that whole caregiver role.
Yes.
And, it ultimately turned into overgiving, which is also, I feel like, another form of an ableism, right? Like
Yes.
sometimes it turns into that. You're enabling them, right? To
Mm-hmm.
continue these behaviors. You know that's not right, but you feel like when you take your support away from them,
Mm-hmm.
then they're gonna die. They they
Mm-hmm.
they're just not gonna be able to survive. And I
Yes.
know so many people who do that, right? Especially when it comes to family members, right? They,
Yes.
they will feel like, oh, it's my family, so it's my duty, it's my obligation to take care of them. And if I don't do it, who's going to do it? And so I
Yes.
went through that a lot with my mom while she was living because of her addiction. But at the end of the day, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to be fully who I needed to be in all the realms of my son's life and just be able to take care of us properly if I was continuing to take care of her. So I stopped. I pulled back a lot of my support from taking care of her, and it was one of the hardest things that I've
Mm-hmm.
ever had to do in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was nervous. I mean, she was angry at me,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I understand. Like, I mean, I was one of the sole providers of just everything in her life. And when I did that, I was able to ultimately feel like I was back in control of my life. And
Mm-hmm.
guess what? She survived, honey.
Yes.
She went to somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Able
Mm-hmm.
to go to somebody else and get her needs met, and then that person, also became the enabler and that kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
it showed her that it showed myself I was able to stand firm. And I
Yes.
still loved her. I loved her no
Yes.
less. I loved her
Yes.
even more. Like my heart
Yes.
went out to her and I challenged her to be better, to be
Yes.
able to get off of drugs and these things. And for a minute, she really did. She did good. I think
Mm-hmm.
they need that challenge. And sometimes people need to know that they can do it. But if
Yeah.
you keep providing for them, they don't have the opportunity to do that.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Yes, you're naming some really great points. Absolutely, and that's the journey that many clients and many people have to go on. Myself have went on, right? Which is seeing the fact that what we're trying to do to help is actually harming. That we're
Mm,
enabling, we're coddling, and we're ultimately not giving them the freedom to make their own choices,
wow.
not allowing them to experience their own feelings, not allowing them to experience the consequences of their actions, and not
Mhm.
really allowing them to live fully,
Yeah.
right? So we're not honoring, we're not trusting that this is a full,
Mhm.
oftentimes children are a little different, but full grown adults, right,
Yeah.
who can make their own decisions in life. And we need to honor and trust that they can. And
Yeah.
also, we need to honor and trust ourselves that we need to take care of ourselves first and foremost.
That
Yeah.
part. That part.
Yes.
Planty Lock says, "That's me, overgiver and burnt out."
Yes.
Let's talk a
Yes.
little bit about that because it's always interesting. Like,
Mm,
we give so much, and it's what I also think is interesting is that I think that a lot of people who do what we do, who are in the
yeah.
helping field, teachers,
Yes.
therapists, psychologists, social workers, you name it, we do a
Mhm.
lot of giving, and then it ultimately burns out, and then we mad at the world because we feel tired. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, don't talk to me, I'm tired.
Right.
So
Right.
let's talk about how it affects affects us in those ways when we
Mm.
definitely overgive.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah, burnout, definitely one of the outcomes, right? Feeling really lonely, feeling resentful. I often talk with my clients, listen to that resentment. It's telling you something really important. That resentment is saying, I've given too much and I haven't received enough in return,
Woo.
right? So listening to that anger, even that anger, that resentment, it's really telling us that this is crossing our boundaries. This is crossing over our lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if we don't listen to it, then oftentimes it starts showing up in our bodies, right? It starts showing up in mental health concerns, physical health concerns. Our relationships are falling apart. Don't wait until that point, right? Really listen to that resentment at the very beginning when you start
I love
to.
that resentment. Like we do
Mm-hmm.
get that. We get mad, and we'll be like, "Don't ask me nothing else," and everything like that because you don't say yes to everything else. We
Yes.
need to learn how to say no, right?
Yes, we
And we
do.
need to think
Absolutely.
before we actually say yes to people
Yes.
in our lives, but we don't take a
Yeah.
beat. I always tell my clients, take a beat before you say
Mhm.
yes to something. And I've started doing that in my own life because I'm still quick to say yes to a lot of things. And my assistant be like,
Mm.
when you gonna do that?
Right.
Find
Right,
some time on the
right.
calendar. Right.
Yes,
It's just
yes, and
like,
it's so nice to have, yep, other people to keep us accountable for that.
right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
and I
Let's
wanna
talk about,
offer.
oh,
Oh,
go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I wanna offer, a couple of ideas, right, of how to set
Mhm.
that boundary. Like, how do
Yes,
we get out of these cycles? Yeah.
we need it.
So one, of also the driving force behind all three roles is that sense of helplessness, right? That
Helplessness,
all
yes.
three roles feel quite helpless. And so, something that I found really interesting is that Stephen Mayer and Martin Seligman were the people who coined the term learned helplessness, right? Which
Yes.
is when they found, where they theorized this idea that if you put an animal or a person in an impossible situation, in this case, in the study that they created, was when they put a dog in a situation where they cannot escape the shock that they were giving to this poor animal, that the dog will eventually just lay on the floor and stop trying to escape. Right. So they
Mm,
term that learned helplessness. However, 50 years later, in 2016, they published an article that basically said after 50 years of doing this research, we're going to reframe this idea of learned helplessness, because after all that time, what they found is that helplessness is actually not learned, and that's really important. Helplessness is the default. That is
mm,
where we all tend to go when we are overwhelmed with adversity and challenge. However, what is learned is agency, control, and empowerment. So that's what we need to learn to get out of these roles. Okay. And this is
mm.
what we've been talking about too, with how do we cope with this election? How do we cope with this place of helplessness that some of us may be feeling right now? That we do need to learn that we have some control, not over everything, definitely not over other people's lives, but we have some control of how we respond and how we react to the present challenge that's in front of us.
I
Okay.
love that. And then yes, I love the reframe of learned helplessness. Because it to me it flips to a positive psychology methodology
Yes.
in terms
Yes.
of agency, and
Yes.
we all have agency. And I've
We
been
do.
telling all of my clients, even myself, over this last day, is that we can only control ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Right now, especially as it pertains to the election. Although some of us, didn't want the result that happened, we still can't control it right now. It is what it
Mhm.
is. And so
Mhm.
um acceptance doesn't mean that we give up and we have to, kind of lie down and not still believe in what we believe in and hold our values to be true, right?
Yes.
acceptance is not acquiescence, right? Like it's
Right.
we can still hold true and understand that we're not helpless in anything. We can control our own actions and we can show up every
Mhm.
day in our own authenticity and be who we were meant to be despite what's going on around us.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
Absolutely. Yes, we can. Yes. And I share with my clients that instead of being the hero in this drama triangle, right, you need to be the hero of your own story. You
woo,
need to be, yes, you need to be the hero of your own story. And you need to trust that other people are going to be the hero of their own story too.
that part.
Yeah.
Because we all can show up whole, right?
Yes.
We all have what it takes inside of ourselves to solve our own
Yes.
problems. And what I mean by that is I don't mean that we don't need other people to help us, but we all possess the ability to make choices in
Mhm.
our own life, and we're
Mhm.
control of our actions. And you said something about responses earlier. Our response is our responsibility. My old pastor Battle used to say that all the time. Your response is your responsibility. And that has stuck
Yes.
with me for, so long because it is true, right? How we
Mhm.
respond to things that affect us in a negative manner is still our responsibility. And we can respond in a way that is still empowering versus disempowering to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Before we go, I really do want to talk about real quick overgivers. I mean, excuse me,
Mhm.
overtakers, because
Mm.
there's some people out there that's just take it, right? And
Yes.
if you
Yes.
give it, they take it. Um,
Yes.
so how do you know if you are an overtaker?
Yeah, yeah. It's a great question. So, in this framework, if you were to think about the overtakers who are the villains and the victims, right? You can start to notice when you yourself, when I myself start to get into the villain or the victim role. And those are the places where we overtake because we're asking for something that's quite impossible from other people, where we're asking them, right, to basically fall into the same story with us that yes, the world is terrible, isn't it? Those people over there, aren't they so bad? And I am such a victim of my circumstance. I can't help myself. We're asking people to please, you know, get on board with that story.
Yeah.
And that's an impossible ask,
Yeah.
right? That's an impossible ask for others. We can ask for validation. We can ask for emotional support. We can ask for some feedback. We can ask for a listening ear. However, at the end of the day, how do we not be an overtakers? We can let the other person know, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be able to meet this challenge. Trust me, I can handle it. I will love your help and support right now, right? Because I am struggling, but I am ultimately responsible for my own feelings and my own path. And I want you to trust me in that. So that's how to not overtake.
I love that. I, I think that, do you not think that that causes for a level of awareness?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yes,
But
it
I feel
does.
like we're not personally, just me personally. I feel like
Mhm.
a lot of people don't have that level of awareness. And even that,
Mm,
in the work that I do as a coach, my goal is to help bring awareness, is to create awareness in every session that I have with my clients. And there's still pushback sometimes. But I'm
right.
like, Okay, I get it, but I I need you. I'm trying to help you be aware of something that is showing up in your life, and I'm getting pushback, and I get it because sometimes these things are hard to hear, right, and
Yes.
hard to know. But I think that in order to be truly, understand that you come to a place of being a overtaker, is that you need to be aware and you need to listen to those who are sharing certain things
Yes.
with you about yourself, giving you feedback. I'm not saying we have to
Yes.
take everything that the person says about us, because Lord knows everything people might say about me might not be true.
Right.
But I tend to ask myself, um, hmm, is that true?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I run it through like my filters of curiosity
Mhm.
first, so that I can be like, okay. is this true about me? And if I feel like it's something to explore deeper, then that's what I will do. And if I feel like there's no way this could be true, then of course I do what most other people do, is file it away.
Yes.
And I think that's our own right and prerogative.
Yes, 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 I think so, absolutely. And to your point of, what if people are resistant? What if they're not quite ready to hear it, right? Is that sometimes what we can do the most to develop that awareness is to act in alignment with ourselves, to set those healthy boundaries within ourselves, because it is not an intellectual knowing, oftentimes, it is an experiential knowing, right? Yeah. So when you experience healthy boundaries in a relationship, so for instance, if I find myself being an overtaker and I'm finding someone who's saying no to me, it is that experience of boundaries that actually is the feedback that I need to hear,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
is not being told that maybe sometimes I could hear it when I'm being told and given feedback that maybe I'm overtaking or that maybe I'm falling into self pity. But it's that experience when people stop enabling my self pity. That's the experience, that's the learning that I get to have.
Yeah. I love that. I love it is in that experience. And I think that if we want to be more aware in our lives, we do need to step back and look at how others are experiencing us,
Yes, yes,
right? As
absolutely.
people. And I think that a lot of times my hope is that those who are closest to you can show you some things, can tell you some things
Mhm,
about yourself.
mhm.
I think that if you are brave enough, you might want to ask the people who are closest to you,
Yes.
how are you experiencing this relationship with me? Right? Like, do I ask too much? Do I, am I giving too much, or, is our
Mhm,
relationship good?
mhm.
I think that's, something that if we're brave enough, we can ask the people who care about us.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's a great
Okay.
place.
Wow.
Mhm.
So, how do as we, start to close, how do you actually ensure that, your boundaries remain strong? Um,
Mhm, mhm.
Today, it be hard.
It is really hard. It is. Absolutely. It's a hard practice, yes. And I would say that um, the actual boundaries, right? So, whatever that boundary is, I'm not going to do dishes every night. I'm not going to drive you everywhere that you want me to. Whatever that actual boundaries is going to shift depending on your energy level, depending on the situation, depending on who is asking, right? So, those are not the firm boundaries, or I should say, rigid boundaries that we need to hold. What is the boundary that needs to happen is internal. The
Mm,
boundary that we need to hold is I am going to commit to taking care of myself and never sacrifice myself for the need of someone else. That I'm going to see myself as one of the many people that I care for, not more or less than anybody else's needs. Right. So I'm not going to harm myself in order to care for others. That's the commitment. That's the boundary. And so from that place, you can make whatever decision you need to make when people are asking something of you.
oh, you said, listen, drop the mic right there. That is a mic drop moment, meaning, I'm going to hold myself in high regard.
Hmm.
I'm an important factor in this relationship. I tend to say I'm the most important factor in this relationship, and it's in the sense of my needs being met, right?
Yes.
In terms of boundaries. And I think that thought process, I think that's for some reason that is hard for some of us
Mm-hmm.
to like grab onto, right? And I'm like, but
Mm-hmm.
why? Because if you do
Mm-hmm.
not put the mask on yourself first, you die. This person, if they don't know how to put the mask on themselves, y'all both dead. Y'all, y'all,
Yes.
y'all both just dead, right?
Yes.
So, but if you
Exactly.
put yourself first and then you put it on, help them get it on, then that's great. But we tend to think that taking care of ourselves and our own needs and setting boundaries is then us saying that I'm being selfish, and
Yeah.
you know this other person is not as important, when what you're saying is that you're being not selfish, and as a matter of fact, that person is important, important to you, so much so that how to best serve them because you can serve yourself first.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, to see yourself as, again, one of the many people that you serve, right? And
Yeah.
that is part of caring. Yeah, that you are part of the community that you serve. Yes.
Oh, I love
Mhm,
it. I love it so much.
mhm.
Oh my gosh. All right. So, last question.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice that you'd give to help people feel empowered in their
Mm,
quest to for more balance and fulfilling relationships?
mhm. Yeah, yeah. I think that empowerment really comes from something that we just talked about, which is self-awareness,
Mm,
really. That self-awareness, being able to look at ourselves more accurately, right? To be and that really depends on having those people around us who can reflect back to us accurately what
yeah.
we need to see and what we need to know. Yeah. So that means either your friends and loved ones or having a great coach or having great therapists who can give you that accurate reflection is so important. And from that place, when we really can accept ourselves with compassion and with accuracy and keep ourselves accountable to how we are sometimes maybe creating our own suffering and creating suffering for others, it is from that place then we can make a different decision. Right? In
Mm,
that place, we can have the power to choose freedom and to choose something else.
I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, this is so good. So tell everybody what you got going on and or how they
Yeah.
can get in touch with you.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. So my practice is located in Seattle, Washington. So if you are a Washington resident or you live in Seattle, and if you'd like to work with me or one of our fantastic therapists who also does this work, focusing on helpers and givers and fixers, please do contact us. You can find us on thriveforthepeople.com. We also do have a newsletter and blog posts, and also we're on Instagram. So really trying to share lots of helpful information, actionable steps that people can take to better their mental health and better their well-being. And one plug is that we are also hiring. So if you are a therapist, a licensed therapist, anywhere who wants to relocate to Seattle or really in Seattle, we're looking for our next amazing team member as well.
I love that. So y'all heard it from Dr. Chang. Reach out to her if you're in the Seattle, Washington area, because that is where she practices at, and she can help you whether you are overtaker or overgiver. Um,
Yes.
and so I want to thank you so much for being on the Dr. Kiki Ramsey show. This was such an amazing, enlightening conversation, and I think that it's definitely something that we can take forward, especially giving the events of yesterday with the election. I think that this is a very timely issue. So in the coming weeks, y'all, just be aware if you are overgiving or if you're overtaking, and try to set some healthy boundaries for yourself so that you can be the best version and show up the way that you need to show up in your own world. So
Mm.
thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yay. And so listen, y'all, if you are looking to become a coach, I have an amazing class coming up in a bit. It's called the Coaching Pivot. So I'd love for you to check that out. I'm going to really teach you all the ins and outs of what it takes to pivot from your current career. If you are looking at doing that, or if you're looking at adding coaching to your actual full-time job or a side business or something like that. So go to kiki.com, drkiki.com, to check out all the information about the coaching pivot. And then if you are a woman who is looking for an amazing community, but also looking for coaching on a consistent monthly basis, that, in a community of women. Also, I invite you to join us in the Thrive Society. I got some Black Friday stuff going on right now, some deals. And so I would love for you to check that out, and just go to drkiki.com to join us in the Thrive Society as well. As always, y'all, you got to take care of yourself. You do have the power to create your own happiness. So go out there and thrive. All right. Peace.